Hey, Ray DelVecchio here from websiteprofitcourse.com. I've seen a lot of talk lately about how WordPress is dying and there's better alternatives out there. While I do think the second part is kind of true, I want to talk about that later in this video. I don't agree with the first part at all, that it's dying. However, I would like to go into the pros and the cons, show you a couple examples and numbers along the way so you have a better idea of whether WordPress is the right choice for you. And the biggest pro is their dominance in the market. They're the number one choice for agencies and bloggers, and they power almost all of the small business websites I come across as well that were likely created by a freelancer or a small agency, web designer, that kind of thing. So just to give you a few examples, one of my favorite podcasters, really one of the first guys that I started following online, is Tim Ferriss. His website, tim.blog, is powered on WordPress. But it's not just for bloggers. Maybe the biggest example that I can drop on you, and that's whitehouse.gov. I'm pretty sure that it's been running on WordPress between multiple administrations. I would imagine that each time that a new president comes in, they probably redesign the website. The next one is one of the biggest companies in entertainment, the Walt Disney Company. Their website and blog run on WordPress, and once again, this is clearly a custom theme. And the last one here is also one of the biggest names in the video game industry, that's PlayStation. Their blog is also powered by WordPress. So just to give you numbers instead of pointing out a few big examples, here's a chart of the CMS, which stands for Content Management System, the usage distribution on the entire internet out of 70 million website detections. And WordPress is the clear leader. They're on over 30 million websites, which is 43% of the market. And the next biggest competitor is Wix, which they're only at 10%. So WordPress is basically 4 times as big as Wix and 10 times bigger than Squarespace. And then down here in the bottom right, this shows you all the subcategories of content management systems. The thing about WordPress is that through plugins, you can pretty much build any type of website. I have a couple other tabs open here. The next one is for e-commerce. So this is where WordPress has legitimate competitors, and the biggest one is Shopify. They're actually number one with e-commerce distribution on the internet. So Shopify has 3.6 million websites detected on here. That's 15% of the market. And number 2 is WooCommerce, which WooCommerce is the number one e-commerce plugin for WordPress. So they're almost even. WooCommerce has 3.2 million installations, which is about 13%. And the last tab here, this is WordPress themes. So with WordPress, you can design your website however you like. There's thousands of themes to choose from. And what WordPress has nowadays are theme builders, really page builders, which let you build layouts and create any type of website that you want. And the most popular one that I use is Divi. They have about 12% of the market, which is pretty big when you consider how many options there are for WordPress themes. Almost 2.2 million websites using Divi. And number 2 on here is the Astra theme. I know this is a very popular free theme, and they may have some paid upgrades. I'm not quite sure because I've never used it. 4 of these on this list are the WordPress default themes: 2021, 2017, 2020, and then 2019 down here. And then we also have a lot of individual themes that are on a marketplace called Theme Forest. As a web designer myself, I prefer something like Divi because I want to use one theme that gives me the most flexibility. I'll include a link to them in the description below so you can learn more about them. And I also have a handful of Divi tutorials. I'll link one of them up here in the top right where you can see me build and design a website using the Divi drag and drop visual builder. If you're wondering how WordPress got that popular, it's because it's completely free. It's open source, which means that you can look at the code, edit the code if you want to do any customizations, and they did it all without advertising. So most of the growth came from word of mouth. And also because it's interoperable with any type of hosting. All you really need for WordPress is PHP, the ability to run PHP scripts, and access to a MySQL database. And as long as your hosting platform has those 2 things available, you can run a WordPress website. There are no pros that come without some cons on the other end. The hardest thing for most people is the fact that with the added power that comes with WordPress, along with the plugins and themes, it does require a little bit of a learning curve compared to some of the other platforms. The way that the other platforms win is by making it easier for the beginner. You have less choices in the matter. You don't get to customize as much. But what I found is that with those platforms, you're going to hit a dead end at some point. So this is where WordPress really beats the competition, but you're going to have to spend a lot of time with it to get to understand how to unleash all of that power. And with that power comes responsibility. You have the ability to break your website with WordPress. So that's either a good thing because you can customize it and hack it as much as you want, but it's a bad thing because you might break something and have no idea what you did. Your entire website is down. The other platforms are going to protect against that because it's on their hosting. So that means having good, secure hosting is completely up to you. You have to go do that. It's on you to have strong passwords for your site so it's not easily hackable. And maybe the most important thing is keeping all your software up to date. That means your WordPress core software, any plugins that you have, and any themes that you have. And right now, WordPress gives you the ability to enable auto updates, so they update whenever it's available. Before, you had to go in there maybe every week or every month and do that yourself. So some of the stuff is a little bit technical. Usually on a better WordPress host, they take care of all that. But you have to be aware of these things if you're going for the most affordable because you're going to get the least amount of support with that. When it comes to buying something, you have to pick between two of these three: good, fast, and cheap. And I would consider WordPress good and cheap. So that means it's not going to be fast to learn. If you want fast and cheap, it's going to be low quality, probably a website builder that offers you really no customizations at all. Those are the decisions you got to make. And then when it comes to that learning, one of the most frustrating parts is going for a WordPress theme, looking at all the options available to you. Almost every WordPress theme is going to have a demo website. You might buy that theme, install it, and set it up, and it doesn't look anything like the demo. This is a super common complaint. And frankly, this is something I think WordPress internally is doing their best to work on. But usually a demo theme has all the content on there. The theme developers went ahead and set up the website for a handful of hours, going through every setting that they have available. That's what you need to do. Go through the settings and understand how those settings control the look of your website, because every theme is going to be different. This is another reason why I really love Divi, and that's because they give you the ability to edit on the front end exactly what you're seeing. Because WordPress is so big, the problem is that they have to, really consider backwards compatibility. You can't have a WordPress update that breaks 7 million websites across the web because of some piece of code or feature that doesn't work anymore. So WordPress is a little bit slow when it comes to innovation. And I think at their core, they really want to be a generic solution. They want to be able to power dozens of types of websites, whereas some of these other platforms are kind of geared more towards either e-commerce, like we mentioned with Shopify, or something like Squarespace, which I think they probably have a big foothold when it comes to, easy portfolio websites, simple websites like that. So I think a lot of the innovation is going to fall on the developers, the people that create themes and plugins, to continue to make that as modern as possible. And from the WordPress core side, they need to make it as easy as possible for developers to create. And I also think that in the latest releases, I know WordPress is working towards a page building system. That's kind of what the Gutenberg blocks were the first step towards. And I think the next step to the WordPress core software is doing full page building, whether that includes sidebar, header, footer, all that kind of thing. Again, this is what Divi has already solved with their theme. So when it comes down to it, these are really the top competitors to WordPress. Wix, they have the most amount of people. They have 7 million users, or at least through that Trends website, there were 7 million installations of Wix out there. For e-commerce, Shopify is a great option. If you're running an e-commerce store, you physically ship items, they have their system set up completely geared towards fulfillment. So the analytics and all that's built into your dashboard, whereas with WordPress, you may need a plugin for that. Squarespace is similar to Wix, but I think they're nicer. I do think they have better templates and probably slightly easier to use than Wix. The last one here is one of the smaller ones. It's called Webflow. I think they had somewhere around 300,000 installations. If you look at the interface of Webflow, it's a lot like Photoshop. And it's very similar to Divi in that it hooks up, editing visually with creating that CSS code on the back end. A lot of people have said that it's not nearly as good when it comes to running a blog. Content management, it could be done better with Webflow, and that's kind of the bread and butter of WordPress. So it goes back to, again, if you just want a simple 5-page website that you're never going to edit again, some of these other options are good. But if you want to attach a blog to that, add new pages, write articles, I really think that WordPress is still far and away the best solution that you can have. That really comes down to these 4 bullet points, and that's anybody can build a pro website. You can make any type of website. It's by far the most affordable way to start for beginners. And with all that, you get the most flexibility and power out of any of these systems or platforms. So I hope this video was helpful. If you're a freelancer, go to my homepage, websiteprofitcourse.com, and I'll give you 15 tools to start your web design business. We obviously mentioned WordPress and the Divi theme builder today. If you're more of a beginner, check out my free WordPress training. Go to websiteprofitcourse.com/WP101. That'll take you through a tour of the admin area. You'll also see how to build an entire website with Divi. Both of those links, along with others, will be in the description below, so check them out. Last but not least, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. If you've used any of these platforms that we mentioned, including WordPress or any of the competitors, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments below. And make sure you subscribe to my channel to get new WordPress tutorials and web design freelancing videos. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll link up a couple videos here if you want to keep on watching.